Hello, BookTube. It's Peg. I am back at the History Shelf. How are you guys doing? Happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope you guys are all doing well, that you're staying healthy and sane. Let me adjust my microphone real quick. Gosh, it's going to be a little bit of a mashup video. Probably going to call it Memorial Day Book Mashup. I'm going to talk to you about some of the things I'm reading right now. What I'm looking forward to reading, and just sharing some other little tips, little things I want to let you know that are upcoming that you might want to check out from a history angle on TV. As you can tell from my thumbnail, I'm pretty stoked for a 3-part series coming up on History Channel. And if you are interested at all in the Civil War, or my guy Grant, there's my bobblehead. I do love this guy. He's getting his own 3-part miniseries, documentary reenactment. They got an actor that looks, out of all the guys I've seen play Ulysses Grant in movies, this one looks the most like him. So I'm very excited. That's starting on Monday. So set your DVRs if you have a cable or the History Channel, History TV. Set that up. And I will plan on doing a reaction video or a review of sorts, my thoughts on it, next week. It's going to run Monday through Wednesday, so I'll probably post something Thursday or Friday of next week, and I'll talk to you about what I feel like they did right, what they feel like they got wrong, how I felt about it, if you're interested, since many of you know that I'm a huge Grant aficionado. So that's something I wanted to bring to your guys' attention. As well as show you some of the recent books I've gotten that are more of a military history theme in honor of Memorial Day. So I'll save that for now. Let's just jump into some of the things that I've been reading. So I've been reading quite a bit, and I'm on deadline for a couple of things. So right now my big push, I'm writing a book review, just a short little write-up for Historical Novels Review. For this brand new book, The Eighth Life by Nino Haratashvili. It is amazing. There you go. It's 940 pages, and that's on page 523. And my review's due on June 15th. So I am trying to sprint towards the end here. I got another 400 pages to go. So this has been the focus right now of just trying to get some of this read. And then I have another one due on June 15th as well by an author many of you are probably familiar with, especially work in translation. And this is Endo Shusaku's Sashiko. I haven't begun it, but it's on my list. I'm trying to at least, I'm going to start this one June 1st, I believe. Endo Shusaku wrote Silence, about the people in Japan who were missionaries, but the people who were martyred for their faith over there. A couple of those monks that went over. It was made into a huge movie. Scorsese made it, and that was a very moving book. I enjoyed that greatly. And this is another one that they just translated, and it also covers the plight of Japanese Christians in the 1930s, and it's kind of like a love story. So I'll go into more detail with you guys maybe in a June TBR, and I'll talk about this more. Obviously way shorter, thank goodness, but it's still a 400-page book. So I have a lot of fiction reading to do for book review writing. So, and those two. Well, I'm working on The Eighth Life, and that is amazing, and it's. I'm going to hold back on some of my descriptions until after I've written my review, but it's engrossing as hell. It is totally my cup of tea. The blend of history, fiction, drama, more history, Russian history all over the place. Love it. So anyway, and then for a buddy read, I am working through 1491 by Charles C. Mann. New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus. I'm loving this book, you guys. Just absolutely loving it. I'm doing this buddy read along with Lukash at Totally Pretentious and Patrice Jones. We're just sharing thoughts on Boxer. We're wrapping up chapter 4 this week. So about 150 pages in or so, or close to it. Just learning so much about like South American history and Central America, also North America, the Native Americans there. This is the kind of early history, although it's like 15th, 16th, 15th century stuff as we're moving into it. Again, just if you're into ethnography, geography, cultures, and the impact of colonialism, but even this goes way before colonialism. This just talks about what the Americas were like before Columbus even arrived, and it's very enlightening. Apparently, it wasn't just the diseases that the Europeans brought over that took a toll on the populations of the Americas. They had their own pandemics that happened before the Europeans even arrived. So learning a lot of stuff. Right now I'm talking about the Aztecs, the Triple Alliance. So very much enjoying 1491. Reading about 50 pages a week on that, just to keep up. And then 2 books I am currently reading that I will be doing reviews on, either written and for this channel, or both. I probably will just do both. I'd like to cover, the books that I do review here and let you know what I thought about them. So actually, let's go with this one. So I think I mentioned this. I think I might have shown this on this channel. I know I've put it out on Instagram and elsewhere, but I'm into The Black Cabinet, The Untold Story of African Americans and Politics During the Age of Roosevelt by Jill Watts. And I am really enjoying this. I am learning so many new things. The Black Cabinet wasn't really this wasn't, FDR's cabinet. It is an informal name that they gave the first really high up federal positions that were given to African Americans. Those folks had a network, an informal talking network. They would meet at this place in Washington, D.C., Gray's Cafe, I believe that was, and they would have their talk fests and talk about policy, legislation, ways that they could help their race and just to achieve equality and to get the support that they were entitled to as American citizens. And a lot of this is already infuriating already. Just I'm at the part where for a long time the African American vote was firmly in the GOP hands. I mean, it's the party of Lincoln, right? But over time, they weren't, the GOP just kind of, cast them to the side, but come election time, they tried to gin up those votes, like, we own your votes, and finally they're like, no, we're going to actually, you're not helping us, so, and we know the Democrats are not really in our camp either, but they kind of threw in their lot with FDR, and that's where I'm at. They switched parties in a way, and were trying to see if they could get any more help from the Democrats, even though that they were the party of Jim Crow and all this kind of stuff. So very enlightening. I'm enjoying this, and I will be writing a review and talking about it, and I'll do a book review on this channel when I'm done as well. And then this is a book that Steve had sent me, Steve Donahue, and I am still going to write a review for this and talk about it. This is Roger Morehouse's Poland, 1939. The outbreak of World War II. So I've begun this one, and it takes the stance that this was the fighting that took place in Poland. It's a campaign that most historians of World War II just don't pay a lot of attention to or give much page space to. In general histories of the Second World War, according to Morehouse, you might see 16 pages that talk about what happened from fall of 1939 to the beginning of 1940, when England properly joined the war, like on a military level. They declared war against Germany when they invaded, but they really didn't do anything to help the Poles out militarily. So this is going to be a really important entry into the field of military studies, especially military Second World War studies, and talking about the Polish experience and what happened there. So as you can see, I have quite a full slate of things. Oh, and I'm still working away at the Trollop, still reading The Way We Live Now. I like to try to get at least 10 pages in a night. I know to many people that might seem that's crazy. Well, that's just enough for me to, keep all the characters correct and to keep the pages moving. Now, once I get these two really big deadlines done, really the massive reading on The Eighth Life, I can really zip through and finish things up this summer. So that's the plan. Okay. Oh, and I did finally finish reading this book. I kind of slowed down on it just because the published date has moved out from May to September. But I am also writing a review on this book, a brand new book by Wade Davis called Magdalena, River of Dreams, A Story of Columbia. Fabulous. I really enjoyed this book. It took me down another little rabbit hole of wanting to learn more on the history of the country, which is a fascinating history. It made me want to pull out my book on, I have a very large biography on Simon Bolivar that I want to check out. He ends this book talking about Simon Bolivar's impact and how the Colombia looks at him today, as well as Venezuela and was it Ecuador? Anyway, it's a really beautiful book. You could tell this man, he's in love with this country. He's in love with this river. It's a very spiritual book in a way, very naturalistic, and I really appreciated it. So, I'm sorry, my dog is making. Oh, she's drinking water or eating, but this always happens. Anyway, so I'm writing a review that will be out later in the year for a book browse review. So that one has been finished, and I'm really happy to have finished that. So I'll show you a few books that are on the horizon. I think you've seen one. I think you've seen one recently. If you watch all my videos, start to finish, every single one, you may have seen this one before. But in honor of Memorial Day weekend on Memorial Day, this book I plan on reading this summer, and I probably will write a review for it, and maybe I will be submitting it. So this is Joseph Whelan's newest book. This is brand new. This is a new release. The Last Great Battle of World War II, Bloody Okinawa. Joseph Whelan, if many of you out there are familiar with him, or if you're into Civil War history, you are familiar with his name. He's written several books. I'm looking right across the way. He's written The Last Full Measure, which was, I think, the final year of the Civil War, the final battle. Terrible Swift Sword, A Life of Sheridan. I think that is. Yeah. So Whelan's a great Civil War historian, but now he's turning his pen to the Battle of Okinawa, which I'm looking forward to. So this is a new release, and I'm going to also do a review on that as well. And then some of these others I picked up, and actually this one actually I requested from, this was a great University Press title. It's a brand new book, and I'm very excited. This is also on my reading list for this summer. I have the actual pub sheet here. Yeah, University of Missouri Press, and this is Patton, Battling with History, by J. Furman Daniel. So this one is a brand new release, and I will review it for this channel. George S. Patton Jr., one of the most, I get the glare off of there, one of the most successful yet misunderstood figures in American military history, is one of the most successful. Despite the many books and articles written about him, none considers in depth how his love of history shaped the course of his life. That's going to be a great angle. In this thematic biography, Furman Daniel traces Patton's obsession with history and argues that it informed and contributed to many of his successes, both on and off the battlefield. See, that is outstanding. I eat this stuff up. That is a really original angle, and he was obsessed with history. He felt he was reincarnated. I think there was one time he just said, if Rommel and I could just agree to base the outcome of this war with just the two of us going at each other in our tank. Like, I'm in my tank, he's in his tank, and we just go at it. I mean, he just like the, the warriors of old, where they would call out the best fighter. Yeah, he was steeped in history. Anyway, so Patton deliberately cultivated the image of himself as a warrior from ages past. Here we go. The more interesting truth is that he was an exceptionally dedicated student of history. He was a hard worker and voracious reader who gave a great deal of thought to how military history might inform his endeavors. Most scholars have overlooked this element of Patton's character, which Daniel argues is essential to understanding the man's genius. So this is a fabulous new study by J. Furman Daniel, put out by University of Missouri Press. So thank you, Missouri Press. I'm looking forward to covering this. And if you guys are interested, let me know. I hope you want to hear my thoughts on it, because I will be reviewing it. So that's coming up this summer in honor of Memorial Day. We're just doing the military history arrivals right now. Although I have a few more, I might just have to do another video just showing some of the newer arrivals. Oh, and this is another book. I was offered an advanced copy to read from Other Press, and it looks like they're turning it into a streaming limited series. But this is called The Turncoat by Siegfried Lenz. You can see soon to be a streaming limited series. Well, it's a novel, but it's historical fiction. This is previously unpublished. This German post-war classic is one of the best books of this major writer, who died in 2014. The summer before the end of World War II, Walter Proska is posted to a small unit tasked with ensuring the safety of a railway line deep in the forest on the border with Ukraine and Belarusia. In this swampy region, a handful of men, stunned by the heat, attacked by mosquitoes, and abandoned by their own troops in the face of the resistance, must also submit to the increasingly absurd and inhuman orders of their superior. Time passes, and the soldiers isolate themselves, haunted by madness and the desire for death. An encounter with a young Polish partisan, Wanda, makes Proska further doubt the validity of his oath of allegiance, and he seeks to answer the questions that obsess him. When conscience and duty clash, which is more important? Is it possible to take any action without becoming guilty in some way? And where is Wanda, this woman from the resistance he can't forget? Written in 1951, The Turncoat is Siegfried Lenz's second novel. Rejected by his publisher, who thought that the story of a German soldier defecting to the Soviet side would be unwelcome in the context of the Cold War, you think? The manuscript was forgotten for nearly 70 years before being rediscovered after the author's death. It is a posthumous triumph. So this is some fiction here, The Turncoat. And I'm trying to see if I don't really know who that actor is. I probably should. Don't know. So this came out by Other Press. So I'll let you know what I think about that one as well. Okay, and then in light of my Civil War book tag video I did a while ago, a few weeks, got a ton of great comments and feedback and input and reactions from folks in the comment section. One person said, I had listed Stephen Sears's biography of General George McClellan as like one of my favorites, because favorite biographies, just because he did such a great job of showing what an ass McClellan was. Sorry. Well, this guy's like, you throw Sears out the window. No. You need to read Ethan Refuse's McClellan's War, and then you'll have a better appreciation of McClellan. So, you know what, sir or ma'am? You've thrown down the gauntlet, and I took up the challenge. And I found online a used copy of McClellan's War by Ethan S. Refuse. Now, most of us who are familiar with Civil War history and authors and historians know Ethan Refuse, and I have several of his books. In fact, I used him as a source for a couple of sources for my my thesis, my paper, which incidentally has been accepted for publication at a historical the Michigan Journal of History. So it's kind of academic journal, and it was accepted, my undergrad paper. Sorry, I just had to say it. So that's in the process, which was exciting. Anyway, McClellan's War. So I think this one's going to have more of a sympathetic view of McClellan. You know what, sir? I'm going to give it a go, and I do enjoy Refuse's work. But I really don't. He's got a hard road to hoe here, because I don't think it's going to really change my view of McClellan, either as a general or as a man. But you know what? I'm going to keep an open mind when I go into this, and we'll see. I mean, I did give him props. I said he was a fantastic organizer. He knew how to get his troops trained. I don't think he was that great of a fighter. He was far too inhibited. He really would just never let loose. He was, far too cautious. But anyway, so I picked up McClellan's War. It was a very new. I think I might have ordered it from Midtown Scholar Bookstore. Love them. It was like $9 plus shipping. I paid about $14 for it. So, I got McClellan's War. So we're kind of representing in this Memorial Day Civil War, World War II. We've got Okinawa, we've got Patton. Got a little bit of everything. Yeah, mostly World War II stuff, but I've got military history on just about any time frame. Alright, so that's a 22-minute video. I'm kind of just catching you up on what I'm reading. Oh, I wanted to say as well that the timing of my book review for The Things They Carried was perfect as well. I think that ties into my run up to Memorial Day weekend, and I'd like to include that video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's fiction, but it reads like nonfiction. And it just takes you into the mind of a Vietnam War soldier. It's very powerful stuff. I have been blown away by the feedback from that review. I want to say thanks to everyone who's commented. It was so pleasant and thrilling just to see some people say that is one of my all-time favorite books. Thank you for reviewing it and talking about it. A lot of people really love this book. So I'll link to that book review below in case you're new to the channel, and hello if you are. Check it out and see if it might interest you. It's not too much of a long-term commitment as far as reading. It's, I think, close to a little over 200 pages or so. It's a great book of stories, and just want to say thank you to everyone who has, just really embraced that book and given me feedback, yay or nay. And thanks to Jason at Byways and Bookland. He had just a very kind shout out for that review. I'm glad that he liked it. Thank you, Jason. That was very kind of you. And it just reminds me that I need to it's about time to do another booktube shout out, because I've discovered some new folks, and again, I just think there's people out there everyone deserves to check out, and I might be repeating myself on some of them, but I think that'll be an upcoming video as well. In the meantime, let's not forget, on this Memorial Day weekend, guys, Monday night, History TV, this guy right here, he deserves your full attention. Please set your DVRs. It is Grant. I forget the full name of the show, but you'll see the listing. Anyway, on that note, on behalf of my bobblehead Grant and myself, thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care.